guys, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming. Happy 4th of July. I hope you all are having a wonderful day, or at least you've got some awesome plans for today. And if not, hell, I'm here to entertain you. So, we're jumping back into another Far Beyond the World. I'm going to have another episode of Heroes Advent going up later today, maybe something else as well. Gonna keep it, nice and content-packed for you, like you guys usually enjoy. But anyway, guys, let's just get right back into it. Sit back and enjoy, and let's go. Alarm chain, you're up. I'm recording this on my new Razer laptop. I love it. It's an awesome laptop. Alright, there we go. Alright, let's do it. Sorry, I must have gotten confused by your fancy ideas. Could you at least not be this difficult? I asked, rolling my eyes in annoyance. It's entirely unnecessary. If we are both to survive among those wolves, we have to stick together. Together? Tryst blinks and stops in his tracks. Oh no, human. He hisses, pushing his finger into my chest deep enough to cause me to wince. I intend to stay as far away from you as possible, because you... I watch as he waves that finger in front of me, struggling to find the right words. You are just a delayed death sentence in the making. Why are you being so bitter? I haven't done anything to you. I ask, really not understanding his animosity now that we have a chance to talk. I don't find it being helpful to either of us. Haven't you now? Again, he sneers mockingly. Aside from taking my position, you were literally threatening to set this place ablaze. I didn't take... not intentionally, at least. If it was up to me, you could have it back. My voice carries a cynical note, like, how could he pin this on me? To claim I have some sinister intentions towards the tribe. He's insane. I am not a threat. Not a threat? You must be joking. Tryst sneers and I just sigh in resignation, pushing right past him. I might not know where the villa is, but we're on this road for a reason, right? Suit yourself. Silence overtakes us as we continue our journey. We march for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, but they drag on mercilessly. The only entertainment I have is watching the bunny fume over our exchange. He's definitely thinking of a comeback, and no sooner than I begin to smirk at his perpetual scowl, he breaks the silence. What would a human even be doing this far from any of his kin? Like, honestly, what is your goal here? I'm just lost, Tryst. I've been saying this the whole time. Yeah, as if anyone would buy it. Sooner or later, they'll figure out what you're up to. Who will? The elders, the chief. He shrugs. Why else would Vithir want you there? Without Rannoch covering your back, it's the prime opportunity to actually sniff you out. I'll make a quick work of you, and things will be able to go back to normal. And this time, there is no Rannoch to save you. He says in a cold, heartless tone, and it doesn't seem like he is joking. I slow down my pace, starting to think again that this might be just a trap. What are you doing? He notices my tardiness as I finally come to a stop. You really are afraid, huh? Tryst smiles with satisfaction, not knowing when to stop. Got yourself in too deep. Why are you being such a dick? Being nice was nowhere in my job description. He mocks me and looks forward, towards our destination. We need to get a move on. You're lagging behind. The bunny demands, but I don't care. Instead, I look behind in the direction of the village. I was supposed to stay in the house. I think I'm gonna head back. Back? Are you insane? He shouts out, approaching me hastily. You do not ignore a summon from the chief, especially when elders are involved. Rannoch told me to stay put, but you dragged me out and put me in direct danger. What? He looks at me with shock. This has nothing to do with me, he protests, darting his worried gaze between the road ahead of us and me. Look, I'm sorry I've upset you, but you cannot head back. If they have to look for us, we'll both get in serious trouble. His panicked expression almost turns into a pleading one. I guess he was just pushing my buttons, but I can't help the fact that he did get into my head. Off to the top! No, not now! I state sternly, trying to stabilize myself. This isn't a time to unleash my inner Dorothy. Yes, now! If you don't want to have some sense whipped into you by a very nasty wolf, just shut up and get a move on. He sneers, grabbing my hand harshly and pulling me into a forced march. His fluffy paws are warm, and for whatever reason, it catches my attention, a distraction perhaps from another approaching panic attack. Seriously, you're acting all over the place. Tryst grumbles, still holding my hand firm and enforcing a tempo. Yes, mentally I'm not exactly here and now. Comes with the territory of waking up in the middle of a fucking nowhere and with no memories. As if. He scoffs and I have enough. I yank my hand free, stopping again in my tracks and giving him an angered look. The bunny is more than fed up with me, his expression making it clear that but then his attention shifts to my shoulders. You're shivering. They'll notice that. He states with concern and I notice I'm wobbling like a jello. I guess my resolve isn't as strong as I had hoped. I can't help it, I mutter, rubbing my hands across the arms. You have to. They're all wolves there. I'm a damned rabbit, and even I can sense your fear. You're the one who keeps freaking me out. For a spy, your nerves are made of straw. I'm not a spy. I shout out, my eyes getting glossed over. Fuck, I'm such a Dorothy. Or more like a cowardly lion. Dorothy seemed to keep her shit together slightly better than I do, all things considered. Okay. Tryst rushes to my side, shushing me. Just get your mind off of it. Try to relax. I can't! You have to. If I bring you in this state, it'll cause them to sniff, and I'm sorry, but you seem to crack easier than brushwood. Just relax. His tone is now really desperate as he places a paw on my chest and tries to calm me down. How? Just ask me things. You seem to be an inquisitive sort. He struggles to come up with a distraction. You must have some questions. You hardly shut up for someone who wants to keep their speech a secret. He tries to make me laugh, and I involuntarily chuckle. I look at the paw that keeps hold of me and notice the silly barcode pattern. What's up with that tattoo? This? Never you mind. I narrow my brows. So much for asking you things, I mutter, and the shivers rock me ever so slightly, causing the rabbit to reconsider. He squeezes my shoulder to steady me and releases a long sigh. It's a map of my burrow, to remind me of where I'm from. That's all you get on that matter. He interrupts me sternly. We aren't buddying up, so don't ask me personal things. Despite his tone, he keeps holding on to me. This little gesture allowed me to slow down the torrent in my head, and my emotions finally returned back under my control. Well, I was meaning to ask you something else. There was a book I read. Whew, a well-read human, imagine that. He chuckles, tugging at my hand and trying to nudge me into a slow pace. Anyway, it talked about the Tiger Rebellion. It mentioned how the Sylvan folk were instrumental in defeating the lions, but I couldn't find any mention of the wolves. Why would you? Huh? I blink in confusion. Why would you find any specific mention of them? You mean the wolves came here after the rebellion? This time he's the one who stops and looks at me with serious disbelief. What is this? Are you for real? I know you think I'm a spy, but can you just entertain my memory loss for a little bit? Especially when it doesn't threaten your safety, or are you telling me your life somehow hinges on my access to ancient history? Fine. He concedes with an amused scoff and we continue to walk. I don't see what you could possibly gain from feigning such ignorance, so I suppose you were just badly educated. Yes, veiled insults aside, can you elaborate? Why weren't wolves mentioned in the Tiger Rebellion, but the Sylvan folk were? Because wolves are Sylvan folk. Or, well, they used to be. What? I thought you're the Sylvan folk, you know, bunnies. I'm not a bunny. He looks at me sternly. Sylvan folk are all sort of kin who follow the path of Sylvan. Wolfkin, deerkin, bearkin, all bound together for the common good. Then why are wolves no longer a part of that? Because wolves are exactly that. Wolves. Once we managed to chase off the lions and regain our freedom, wolves who for centuries were the shield protecting the Sylvan turned against it. I guess they just realized that they don't have to be equals anymore, but rather take the one step to elevate themselves above all others. I frown, not really sure which side of the story to trust anymore. I find it hard to believe it was that simple. I don't care what you believe, the facts speak for themselves. The lions got the boot and the wolves took their place. I thought the tigers did. The tigery took the heart of Avalon for themselves. Staking claim to the most lush and fertile land in the continent, they didn't give two shits about some woodlands in the peripheries of their territory. I ponder, trying to digest the information. In all fairness, I'm getting more and more conflicting reports. The book made lions to be the villains, with the Tigeri and Sylvan folk praised as the true champions of justice and equality, while Rannoch sees all of it as bogus. Now Tryst says it's the wolves who are the bad guys? I mean, they do seem a bit unhinged at times, and slightly on the extreme side of things, but this whole thing is so confusing. Rannoch seems to dislike the tigers, I mutter, gauging the rabbit's opinion. He believes the rebellion was a lie, that the tigers were the ones who replaced the Lion King. Tigers allowed other races to self-determine their future. That's more than can be said about the wolves. They simply determined that Tiernan is theirs and no one else's. I frown. He's clearly biased, and Tryst quickly notices my doubt. I mean, look at you. Didn't take long for Rannoch to place that collar on you. One way or another, wolves always mark their territory. For all the bluster about making a change, Rannoch never really considered the foundations upon which his entire worldview is built. He wants to repaint the cracks in the wall, while the only just thing to do is to tear the whole damn thing down. He concludes his passionate speech, but I'm unconvinced. Yes, Rannoch does seem to be confused and wrapped up in the delicate balance between change and traditions, but his heart seems to be in a good place most of the time. Is that why you were giving him the stink eye while in his service? Because he's not as radical a revolutionary as you'd like him to be? He's a wolf. He might seem nicest of the pack, but he's still one of them. I stop looking at him with a rather disappointed expression. That's a bit racist. A wolf will always remain a wolf. They only look out for each other. He simply shrugs it off and continues walking on. I guess he's not going to deny it. I try to make up the distance, but as much as the conversation becomes uncomfortable, I just cannot drop it. He's got Rannoch all wrong. I was lost and injured. He saved my life. Rannoch doesn't care about you or your life. Neither does any other wolf, for that matter. I don't know what sorcery you use to avoid getting killed on sight, but I know it isn't. But I know it ain't natural. Well, you're wrong. Am I? He pushes his finger to my chest once again, stopping us in our tracks. How long have you been here? A week? 2? I lived with Rannoch for nearly a year. I'd say I'm a far better judge of his character than you are. Did he mistreat you? I asked plainly, fed up with his weird beef against the wolf. What? Did he mistreat you? I reiterate, and he just stares at me blankly. Define mistreat. Seriously? I scoff. What's your point, human? If you're saying those wolves are bad, I just want to know what that means for me. From one attendant to another. Ugh! He storms off from me, clearly annoyed with my line of thinking. It only proves to me he doesn't have any actual dirt on Rannoch. I cannot believe my wolf would do anything to harm him. I simply followed behind the bunny, determined to have him vocalize what I already know. It's a simple question, Tryst. Did Rannoch mistreat you? No, he didn't mistreat me. Did he order you around, demand anything of you? I continue, getting him exasperated by his bluster, which comes from so far unfounded dislike towards his entire race. No. So, he wasn't lying when he said you were able to simply mooch off of him while doing fuck all in return? Mooch off? He stops again, rushing towards me and squaring off angrily. I can see his paws close into tight fists, and I half expect a sucker punch, but it never comes. Listen here, you glorified, fancy-looking fuck toy. I never asked to be here. He sneers angrily, and I'm about to retort to his insult when he spits his words at me like bullets in quick succession. My burrows suffered 2 harsh winters in a row. I saw my friends and siblings succumb to starvation while we had to ship off what little food we had left to those damned wolves as tribute. You see them feasting and dancing every night, gorging themselves on ridiculous amounts of food. Our food. You find it charming. I saw you joining the fun as if you were one of them. Well, know this. All that merriment happens on the back-breaking of a labor of my kin. I just stare at him, his tiny rattled chest raising and falling in quick succession. I didn't know. I blurt out remorsefully. For the right to live in our groves, the wolves demand tribute, and that tribute has to be paid, no matter the cost. Finally, we had nothing to spare and the tribute ended. We had to surrender our firstborns. That's how I got this. He points to his collar and I instinctively touched my very own. The last time I saw my mother was when she was huddled in the dirt. She was screaming my name as I was dragged away by those brutes to pay off a debt my burrow incurred for the insult of running out of food. So yes, I don't consider Rannoch's lax attitude a saving grace. I don't acknowledge any of those wolves for anything more than what they actually are. Savage monsters who will murder us without batting an eye if we step out of line. So, you better wake up and smell the roses. I can see his nose twitch as he takes an idle sniff. Or lavender in your case. You even smell like a whore. I'm stunned, standing there in complete shock and utter disbelief. If what he says is true, the wolves committed unforgivable extortion. It makes his behavior so much more justifiable. But even if it is true, even if the wolves are as a whole are like this, then they were all the same. No. Rannoch's different, I mutter, the panic quickly returning. Naive and stubborn. The bunny shrugs. Do as you wish, but you're fooling yourself thinking any of them are your friend. I would feel pity for you, had I not disliked you so much. I just stand there, helplessly confused. As he walks a fair distance from me, he finally stops, giving me an annoyed stare. You know what? Do whatever the fuck you like. I'm just going to tell them you ran away. Should make for a fun evening for the packs. They always enjoy a good sport. No. I shake my head, finally shaking out of my stupor and approaching him. Oh, so you're coming then. Good. But don't you dare question my situation again, or I will get you killed, one way or the other. I don't respond, not because I particularly believe his threat, but because I can see that the bunny is very much speaking out of anger. Not that I blame him, knowing the context of his wardship does explain a lot, but at the same time, it's clear he's not giving anyone a chance. Not to Rannoch, not even to me. If anything, he simply perpetuates his loneliness and bitterness through choice. Our circumstances are very much the same in one single aspect. We both have no way out other than to follow the lead. What we can choose, though, is to make the best of a bad situation. Tryst just decides to make a bad situation worse. You know, you're the first person I actually get to talk to outside that damned house. Despite you doing your darndest to spoil this for me, I still am going to enjoy it for what it's worth. And enjoy it in silence. He sneers angrily and I simply shrug. I guess our relationship will continue to be shaky. I understand some of his points, but he cannot be writing off an entire people that easily. Vul being a prime example. At first I hated the black male with all my heart. He was fear incarnate. Especially after he choked me out. The second wasn't as terrifying, just disappointing. I reluctantly rub at my throat, again reminded I'm wearing a collar like a pet. Although Tryst tried to ruin it for me, I still prefer to think of it as a memento. However, my personal attachments don't justify the shit those wolves are doing. Things are much darker around here than I originally thought. But Vul proved the best that you cannot judge a book by its cover, no matter how feral and barbaric it might seem at first. I'm sure that for any questionable aspect of their way of life, there's another awe-inspiring one. Just like the name trees. Experiencing that living cemetery in person left a lasting impression, as many other things will in time. We continue walking in silence, with Tryst expression softening as the time passes by. The villa seems to be quite some distance from the village. Roughly half an hour into our trek, I hear the bunny exhale heavily and give me a more toned look. Nearly there. I can see he cooled off, and I decide to seize the opportunity to bury the proverbial hatchet. Okay, we clearly got off on the wrong foot. No shit. We can continue to fight and squabble all we like, but for the moment we're in this together. Since we're about to enter the wolf den, I suggest we make a temporary truce. I don't trust your naive shtick one bit. You're either dumb or a spy. I still haven't decided which. Neither makes a convincing argument for any sort of dealings with the likes of you. He tries to sound nasty, but I shrug, not even acknowledging his jabs. As the silence protracts, he first dons a scowl on the count of my lack of reaction, but then his expression softens until he sighs in defeat. I guess rational thinking takes this guy a while. You're right. If you fuck up, chances of me getting out unscathed are low. Especially with the 3 alphas involved. You seem to be close with them. I don't suppose Rannoch would easily forgive if anything happened to his new perfumed toy while under my care. He says the last words with clear displeasure. I suppose for today we can have a truce. This seems very disingenuous, and as much as I want to tell him to shove such a truce beneath his tail, I really have no idea what I'm in for. Fuck. I curse under my breath. This won't be an easy alliance. Okay, but could you stop being such a dick all the time? Fine, as long as you stop talking out of your ass. My eyes widen in shock, and I want to start another argument when I realize it won't get us anywhere. I release an exasperated sigh and simply extend my hand towards him. Fine. He looks at me with slight surprise as if he didn't know what I meant. Your people don't shake on deals? Shake? I just grab his paw and show him how it's done. He seems confused as to the meaning of the gesture, carefully inspecting his paw once it is free as if to see if I haven't done anything to it. Huh. I'll try to follow your lead, but if I sense a trap... This entire setup is a trap. The bunny grumbles, shaking off his paw as if he wanted to be rid of my cooties. Alright guys, I'm gonna pause it right there. Alright, it seems like we have a temporary truce going on. That's better than nothing, I assume. That's better than nothing, I guess. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Leave a tip if you can. It always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!